Hello and welcome to Scrolls Talk number 7, which I've so aptly titled Lazy Delayed Live Edition, because I kinda missed a Scrolls Talks back this Sunday on the 15th of February 2015. So consider this just a quick replacement Scrolls Talks podcast, just so I can claim that I've never missed a Scrolls Talks since the beginning of the year. It's going to be a pretty short show with no guest, nothing exciting, and I'm just going to go over what's been going on the last week and discuss a couple of things. So let's move ahead and take a look at the weekly roundup. On Monday, there was a weekly design contest, Rats. On Wednesday, there was a special weekly scroll discussion. It was about Eager to Battle. And today, on Friday, there has been no Creative Corner. And that is as a result of last Friday, where I dropped the fan-made Alliances expansion that I had been working on for some time. Really 2 weeks, 1 week at most. I just saw that Colorplant was working on an expansion of his own, and I figured, hey, I could do that. And then I did. Other than that, they have been discussing new formats for the Brag and Brawl. A couple of things are up in the air is the team sizes. A lot of people are now very interested in 3-man teams, which would allow smaller guilds to better compete with the bigger guilds, because they'll have an easier time to find 3 top players as opposed to 5 top players. Another idea that's been thrown around is multiple teams per guild. So each guild could send in 6 people in the form of 2 3-man teams. And they are still doing a lot of discussions there, and we don't know what exactly will happen with the Brag and Brawl until it is Brag and Brawl time. So next month, we'll see. Just today, ScrollsTalks showed off another Set 7 scroll. And I really like this because this shows that the developers are going for this drip feed approach. They're just releasing one scroll every week or so. And I like that. It generates hypes. It allows you to look at each individual scroll that's coming up and come up with new combos with that scroll. And just generate more discussion and more analysis for each spoiler, as opposed to dropping 15 scrolls on the test server, which I really hate. I think that's an awful tactic to take. But another thing that was announced today was the flavor text design contest. And it is, and I'm going to have to check scrolls.com to get this right. So this is relating to the spoiler that they revealed. They showed off a scroll today. We're going to get to that in a minute. And then they said, you guys, why don't you design the flavor text? So if you head over to the Scrolls Guide forums and submit a flavor for the scroll, you have the possibility of winning that scroll in-game when it is released, and in a Tier 3 crafting format, in addition to being awarded with a design contest head. So it's definitely a contest worth checking out. What we have coming up, though, is the Umlaza Cup tomorrow, Saturday, the 21st of February 2015. And ESL will also continue this Sunday. Other than that, there is not much coming up. Just recently, the live server was updated with all of these February balance proposal changes that had been discussed for a week or so. So it's going to be quite interesting what sort of decks people will come up with in this very first of competitive tournaments post-patch, which is the Umlaza Cup. So I am eagerly looking forward to that. Personally, I am very happy about the hired marksman. He is super cool. And with that, we are going to take a look at some of the Scrolls contest winners, because I believe there hasn't really been a discussion about these scrolls in one of these community public formats. So the first one is Eager to Battle. It's a 3 growth lingering spell with Linger 3 and, the description, creatures with attack 2 or less come into play with haste. And I think that this is a very interesting scroll. It's very powerful, no doubt. It's probably gonna lead to some broken aggro stuff in growth. Could be in multi-resource decks as well. But that's just based on what I'm seeing in front of me. If this scroll was introduced into the game today, as is, with no other scrolls being implemented in the game, it would break it. But because this is part of set 7, I am expecting some answers for aggro. I'm expecting control and mid-range to get stronger tools to deal with aggro. So I think it will be wiser to hold off these gut reactions of, oh my god, that's so broken, that's so OP, until we see those scrolls. Obviously, this has a lot of broken combos with the Fang Stripe Bear. Plonk that thing down, it becomes a 4 attack Relentless with haste. That's powerful, but hey, it's pretty fun as well. And as I was talking with Billy a couple of days ago, I want to see more power in the game, so I think this is a step in the right direction. And as has been pointed out by a lot of people, it is symmetrical, so your opponent can take advantage of this effect. And in some cases, your opponent will be able to take advantage of it much better than you will. For example, if you go up against Decay, you're going to be facing hasted Slayer units, you're going to be facing hasted Poisonous units, and if you're unlucky, you're going to be facing a hasted Neuro, which will summon 2 Husk, which might have 5 attack or might have 3 attack. And that is pretty crazy. So this is a super cool scroll. I am looking forward to see this in-game. I'm looking forward to see answers. I look forward to see some more removal. But I think it's pretty good. It's going to add a lot to the game. Next up is King Peace. This is an 8-order enchantment, and I think it's the most expensive enchantment to date in Scrolls. It has a very powerful effect as such. Enchanted creatures' base countdown is set to 1. So if you put this on an Arbalestier, it's going to attack every turn. If you put this on a Harvester, it's also going to attack every turn. There's a lot of creatures with high base countdowns, which are balanced around that high amount of base countdown. And being able to not just reduce base countdown, but set it to 1 is very powerful. And I wonder if maybe they mightn't change it to decrease enchanted creatures' base countdown by 1 instead. But as it is, it combos particularly well with high base countdown units like the Arbalestier. So in addition to that, it has +5 attack and +5 health. So it's going to be really hard to remove once you put this in play. And it also gains Armor 1 and Magic Resistance 1. That's kind of inconsequential in the larger scheme. But here's the interesting thing. When an enchanted creature leaves play, so this could be from callback, it could be from pushback, it could be from divine marks, then this will trigger, and that effect is all idols you control are destroyed. So essentially you are gambling when you put this out. You put this on a creature and you want to win. I mean, if you put this on an Arbalestier, it will have enough attack, 10 attack, to take out 3 of your opponent idols in 3 turns. So you want to win within 3 turns or so if you put this out. Otherwise, you give your opponent a chance to remove it. For example, if they use Eager to Battle and a Slayer unit, that's instant removal. Or if you just use Damning Curse. I mean, Damning Curse in particular is going to be the Achilles heel of this scroll, and the reason you're going to have to combo it with Ward. And that's where a lot of people get slightly worried, slightly upset, because with Ward, you essentially won't run into this all idols you control are destroyed drawback. Because with Ward, the only way that your opponent can destroy this thing is by dealing, it's going to be like 10 attack or something to this unit, because you're going to put it on Arbalest here, that's going to have 10 health. Because you can't target it with Violent Dispersal, you can't target it with Damning Curse no more. Sure, you can target it with Slayer, you can run a Slayer unit into it, but the Slayer units are really slow, and unless your opponent is playing that eager to battle Slayer combo, they're not going to pull it off. And either way, you're going to have walls in front of this King Piece enchanted unit. So because of that, because of the presence of Ward, this thing no longer has a drawback. Because you're not going to play this unless you can make sure that you get the value back guaranteed, and you're not going to lose by playing this. If you're playing against Decay, you're never going to play this thing without Ward, because you know they have damning curses. Even if you play against Energy, they have Violent Dispersal, that's 8 damage. Sure, you have magic resistance here, so that reduces it to 7, but that still leaves it down to 3 health, and probably going to be pretty easy to remove after that. So really, this thing it becomes potent when you combo it with Ward, and when you go up against, or when you go up against a faction which can't deal with this sort of mega unit. For example, Growth they would have no way of dealing with this thing, even if you didn't have Ward on this thing. Order, they could use Flip, they could use Purification, they could just do a couple of combat shenanigans. So it will be interesting to see how Mojang changes this, because they will change it. They've already discussed changing it so just one of your idols is destroyed, and in that case it might decrease its power a little bit, and overall just make it tamer. I disagree with that. I think power-wise this is fine. The problem is Ward, and that we currently in the game don't have enough Ward counters. But if those are added, this will be a fine addition to the game. It will result in more dynamic games, it will result in fun games. I can imagine this in top-level plays, where you put this thing down, and then your opponent does some sort of weird combo thing, and gets a hasty Slayer unit. And that would be really fun to see. So I want to see this in the game as soon as possible. Next up is Lightning Chest. And this is another lingering spell. 3 energy, linger 4. Unused energy is added to your current energy at the start of your next turn. Okay, so here's the thing. First of all, there is, when you say energy in the game, you are referring to the base resource count. You're not referring to the current energy. So when you say unused energy, that doesn't actually mean anything. You can't never have an unused amount of base energy. Because if that was the case, that means that if you have 6 energy out, and you play Lightning Chest, that leaves you with 3 current energy, then suddenly your energy would be decreased from 6 to 3? I don't think that's quite how it's supposed to work. So I assume this is something they are going to word better. Unused current energy is added to your current energy at the start of your next turn. But anyway, let's get down to business, and let's get down to the meat of this scroll, and that is essentially a way for energy to use all these your current energy effect, basically the Replicaton, basically the Snargleblood, what's it called, that Reaver guy, who has this attack equal to your current energy. Anyway, all these guys in energy, they want your current energy to actually not be 0. They want it to be either 2 or 4 or 6, whatever you want that Reaver guy to attack for. But if you do it, you're wasting a lot of energy. And this thing just allows you to buff those creatures in particular. And in general, I guess, allows for more efficient plays. You can now safely play those power trips, because you know that that generated current energy from the power trip will be useful next turn if you don't use it all up this turn. I don't think you'd want to combine this with too many current energy increases, Like, I don't think you're going to go mad with Fulmination Conduit, Power Trip, Skull Shrine, and then put in a Lightning Chest, because you're going to have way too much energy. Even if you can do fun combos with Grave Gruul and God Hand, it's just not going to be worth it. But with just one of those, Power Trips, Lightning Chest, some scrolls that take advantage of a lot of energy. So you're going to have Replicatons in there, you're going to have Sudden Eruption in there, you might even have Vicious Strike in there. And heck, throw in Snargleblood. Actually, that's not how Snargleblood works, never mind. But either way, it just allows a more efficient plays. And especially when you think about the resource pump units, like the Automata Forge, or like the Solemn Giant, you might want to save up energy this turn to allow for greater Solemn Giant plays in the future. So it's just interesting. I think it might be a bit too expensive for what it does. It doesn't. Technically, you gain energy, yes. But what you're actually doing is you're gaining tempo. You're not gaining any energy. What you're doing is you're just shuffling around the amount of energy you use every turn. If you, for example, on turn 4, if you're on turn 4, use up 4 energy, right? And then on turn 5, use up 5 energy. You've used up 9 energy total over 2 turns. With this thing out, if you didn't use that 4 energy on turn 4, for some sort of 9 energy play on turn 5, you've still used the same amount of energy over those 2 turns. So there's really no net gained here. And I mean, sure, you might be a bit wasteful and not play on tempo properly. But then you're not playing on tempo. Then you're playing a scroll to make up for not playing efficiently. So that is my concern with it, and why it might have to be slightly cheaper, even if you reduce the linger duration by 1. Like maybe at 1 energy, linger 3. Finally is the Decay Scroll. It's a 1 decay enchantment with a displacement subtype, and it's called Shambler Sickness. Enchanted units' move is decreased by 1. Before attacking, enchanted unit is moved to a random adjacent tile. So I've noticed that I think this differs in wording from the Marshambler. And there's a reason for that, which I'm going to get into in a moment. I just need to check this up on Scrolls Guide. Okay, so the way Marshambler is worded is, before attacking, Marshambler moves to a random adjacent tile. And the reason it's worded like that is because you can decrease its move with Binding Root, and that will negate the effect of the Marshambler. With Shambler Sickness, even if you decrease the move of the unit, it will still move because it is being moved by an enchantment as opposed to moving using its own move counters. So because of that, you can put this thing on a binded rooted unit, and it will move even though it has a -3 move, and you might be able to make use of that unit which was previously attacking down an empty lane with an empty idol and no creatures. So you can essentially negate move reduction enchantments, and really it just feels a bit poor in general, because sure, you can play this on your opponent creature in order to reduce their move, but again, you're not actually gaining anything from it, because you're then giving them this unpredictable move element, much like a Marshambler. And I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to give my opponent a Arbalestier, which might randomly move to a tile, especially when they have stuff like Pothers and Transposition, which can increase their mobility. So as a lockdown enchantment, it's very poor. If you want to use it on your own side, if you want to, for example, give something 2 move, much like a Pother, it's still pretty inefficient. I mean, you can move up your harvester, then play Shambler's Sickness on this, and just surround it with all these creatures, and oh, wow, he moved 2 tiles in a row. Yeah, really cool, super cool. Except now he can't move anymore. And it's just bad at what it does. It's a terrible binding route. It's a terrible pother. And I just don't see the point of this thing. So this is my disappointment out of these winning scrolls. I like the other 3. I don't really like this. This doesn't excite me. But with that, we are going to move on to a scroll that was revealed today. So breaking news, guys. Here is a spoiler scroll. The first one with art and text and everything. It's only the lore missing. And you guys will supply it. It is Battle Dance. And this is one of the coolest scrolls I have seen. It is 3 energy. It's a spell. And what it does is the following. Target creature and connected creatures have their countdown reduced by 1. So yeah, this is exciting. It's a one-sided countdown reduction tool for energy. It's very much like a bombard, only it can be board-wide, this thing, which is crazy cool. It can be essentially like a one-sided fury. You don't affect your opponent. Because you can, with some clever positioning, connect up your units, play Battle Dance, move them away so they're no longer susceptible to Thunder Surges or Mire Curses, and then essentially have played a fury without counting down your opponent. And I am really excited about that. I don't know about you guys. I think this is super cool. I love the art of it. I love seeing a little bit of representation of the best girl in the game, Canonetta. And this thing is going to be really fun in the future, as we might see more positioning-based scrolls. I would play this easily in a Gravelock deck instead of Fury. I would play this in an E-aggro deck, because it's a really cheap counter reduction that, unlike Fury, won't affect you negatively as it counts down your opponent. And really, the only downside is that you might have to connect up some units. And in the early phases of the game, if you have 3 energy, if you have 4 energy, if you have 5 energy, at that point, you don't have to worry about Thunder Surge. It is rare, so it might be that we won't see this too much in something like Judgment, which I'm happy for, because this is a very good scroll. But I'm pretty excited about this. I really like this. I am happy about what we've seen so far in terms of set 7 scrolls. So this is the second one. The first one was... see, I'm gonna find it here. So they did reveal a previous one for set 7, only didn't have art for it. So let me just see if I can find it. Come on. Where is it at? There we go. So the first one that they revealed was Varus, the Essence Eater, which is another rare. And it was a human with 3 attack, 2 countdown, and 6 health. The first revealed unique of set 7. And it has a Relentless, and Varus has +2 attack for each destroyed idol on the board. So we can kind of see the direction that Mojang is taking with these 2 scrolls. In the case of Battle Dance, we have support for energy aggro. We have, I don't know. Yeah, I think it is more or less an E-aggro, E-mid-range scroll. Really though, any deck in Energy could take advantage of this, unless you're running some sort of structure-heavy deck. Because I'm not sure how it would work with the connected nature. If you have like a creature up there, a structure there, and then a creature there, would that affect the creatures in that connected chain? I don't know. If it doesn't, that would make it really bad in structure decks. If it does, it'd be fine as well. But here on the right side we have Varus the Essence Eater, and that feels to me more something of a focus on mid-range decay, on control decay. Because it is essentially something that will be relatively weak as you play it initially, unless your opponent is a very aggressive deck. It might be G-aggro, it might be O-aggro, because then it comes into play with maybe 5 attack or 7 attack and Relentless on top of that. So you get a 7-2-6 for 6 with Relentless. So it scales up in strength the further behind you are. And that makes it a comeback scroll, essentially, but also a win more scroll for those late game decks, for D-control, for D-mid-range. So overall, I am very happy with this. I'd like to see them provide more support for the mid-range and control archetypes. And while they are free to go ahead and buff up aggro, just give the other archetypes tools to deal with relentless aggro. There should be a point in the game where it's very clear that you can come back against aggro, where the aggro player has run out of steam completely. So with this, I think I am gonna call it an end then. And sorry guys again about the missed Scrolls Talks this Sunday. I hope that this little extra episode has made up for it. And I'd like to welcome you guys back for the next Scrolls Talks, which will be on Sunday. So it will be in 2 days. I'm gonna essentially, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'll see if I can get the Overlord to take a look at my Alliances fan-made scrolls. I'll see if I can convince them to do that. You guys have anything you'd like to discuss? Plug? Whatever? I'm usually so used to giving my guests some opportunity to do some shameless self-promotion. Anyone? Go ahead, you can plug now. Use my channel chat to plug your shit. The meta. Right, what's going on with the meta right now? I have no idea. I mean, I have done already my predictions. My predictions were as following: a more rock, paper, scissor-like meta. You'd have more or less in the top Poison Decay is going to be the strongest deck, no doubt. But it's going to revolve around Poison Decay, late game order, and range energy. It's going to slightly switch around them. G-aggro decks will be weaker. They're not going to be played as much as a result of the presence of Spiky and Poison. It's just going to be too unreliable to play them. You might see... I mean, Gravelocks are dead. They're not coming back, unfortunately, because of the Spiky and because of the Poison. They're going to get really hurt by the Poison changes. So really, it's just going to be Decay. It's mostly going to be Poison Decay. I have a feeling it's going to be mostly Poison, Cursing Decay. You're going to see a lot of Growth Decay control decks, some late game order, and range energy. And that's really it. I mean, it's not going to be very much going on in the meta, I think. In a way, this patch is... You're not getting less diversity, but you're not getting more. When we're moving away from the G-aggro and O-control 50-50 meta towards a 33-33-33% tier division between the non-growth resources. So yeah, it will be pretty interesting. But I mean, we're gonna see a lot of fun things tomorrow. Things are not gonna settle just yet. We're gonna see probably a couple of new interesting approaches, a couple of new interesting decks. Personally, I'm interested in trying the spiky Decay Order control deck. I'm not sure if it's viable just yet, but it should have a staying power thanks to the poison and spiky elements. You screw over everyone who isn't energy. But hey, we'll see. It'll be pretty fun anyway. So yeah, guys, thanks for watching. This is going to be the end of the stream. Check out my YouTube. You can see it up here at the top of the screen. It's Squiddy Biscuit. Just head over to youtube.com, type in Squiddy space biscuit, and you'll find it. I put up all these podcasts and other clips and other stuff on there. This thing is also going to be highlighted, so follow my Twitch channel if you haven't already. And yeah, I'll see you on Sunday in just 2 days. Bye bye, guys.